Hello everyone, and welcome to a summary of some of the themes present in The Crucible by Arthur Miller. If you're studying this text for higher drama or English, you might find this helpful. There may be some themes here that you are unfamiliar with, just as I might not cover themes that you've looked at already. It might be useful for you to take notes as you go or add to your existing notes on themes. You might also find it useful to start thinking about quotes that relate to the themes present in this video. The first, and arguably one of the most important themes in The Crucible, is hysteria. Hysteria is when someone exhibits exaggerated or uncontrollable emotions. Mass hysteria refers to apparently contagious dissociative phenomena that take place in large groups of people or institutions under conditions of anxiety. The role that hysteria can play in tearing apart a community is very important throughout the plot of The Crucible. Hysteria, or mass hysteria, surpasses logic and enables people to believe that their neighbours, whom they've always considered upstanding people and friends, are committing absurd and unbelievable crimes, such as communing with the devil, killing babies, and cursing each other. They begin to accuse each other in the midst of the hysteria in the play. The citizens of Salem then accept and become active in the hysterical climate, not only out of genuine religious belief, thinking their neighbours are communicating with and worshipping the devil, but also because it gives them a chance to act on long-held grudges. The most obvious case is Abigail, who uses this situation to accuse Elizabeth Proctor of witchcraft and have her sent to jail. Some of the community interestingly benefit from the hysteria. For example, Reverend Parr strengthens his position within the village, although only for a short while, by making scapegoats of people like Proctor who question his authority. The wealthy, ambitious Thomas Putnam gains revenge on Francis Nurse by getting Rebecca, Francis' virtuous wife, convicted of supernatural murders of Anne Putnam's babies. In the end, hysteria can only thrive because people benefit from it. It suspends the rules of daily life and allows the acting out of every dark desire and hateful urge under the cover of righteousness. As we know, it is mass hysteria that ultimately leads to the death of many innocent people in the Salem witch trials. Our second theme is reputation. Someone's reputation is the beliefs or opinions that are generally held about them by others. Reputation is tremendously important in the religious town of Salem, where public and private moralities are one and the same. In an environment where reputation plays such an important role, the fear of guilt by association becomes particularly harmful to the residents of Salem. Focused on maintaining public reputation, the townsfolk of Salem fear that the sins of their friends and associates will taint their own names. Various characters base their actions on the desire to protect their respective reputations. As the play begins, Paris fears that Abigail's increasingly questionable actions and the hints of witchcraft surrounding his daughter's coma will threaten his reputation and force him from his role in the church. Meanwhile, the protagonist, John Proctor, also seeks to keep his good name from being tarnished. Early in the play, he has a chance to put a stop to the girl's accusations, but his desire to preserve his reputation keeps him from testifying against Abigail. At the end of the play, however, Proctor's desire to keep his good name leads him to make the heroic choice not to make a false confession and go to his death without signing his name on an untrue statement. By refusing to relinquish his name, he believes he redeems himself for his earlier failure and dies with integrity. Reputation is an occurring theme from the opening minutes of the play to the closing lines, and is referenced throughout by the characters. It is clear that this is also one of the driving factors in the blame game that the villagers play against each other, casting aside their old friendships and relationships to preserve their name in the eyes of the church and the community. Our next theme is power and authority. As these are very similar, we are combining them into one theme. Power in the village of Salem comes from the church and from the court. The desire to attain and retain power serves as a motivator for the people of Salem. The pillars of traditional power, the church and the court, worked in unison. We are circling back round to that theme of reputation, as is extremely important in a town where social standing is tied to one's ability to follow religious rules. Therefore, the court and the church work hand in hand to rule Salem. In Salem, your good name is the only way that you can get other people to do business with you, or even to get a fair hearing in the court. If you had a good name, people in the village wanted to associate with you, in the hopes that it would reflect well on them. Reputation meant nothing when a witchcraft accusation was staring you in the face. Although we have looked at reputation in mostly a negative light so far, it does, however, help some of the characters start to question the accusations of witchcraft. After all, it is reputation that made Reverend Hale begin to doubt whether the accused individuals were actually guilty in the first place, and it was for the sake of his reputation and his friends' reputations that John Proctor refused to sign a false confession. He would, quite literally, rather die. Another example of power and authority is when the court judges exercise their absolute power by rejecting Proctor's rational explanation and punishing him and acquitting the girls who are guilty. They reject the statements from the adults around them, instead choosing to get swept up in the hysteria and desire to be the ones to rid Salem of witchcraft. Finally, progress in Abigail's character, from an orphan teenager to an important member of the court in a few short weeks, highlights the theme of power in the play. She very quickly gains power and authority in the village, as she is able to accuse those that displease her of witchcraft. She becomes crafty and capable of destroying innocent lives through such accusations. We are now on to the fourth theme we'll be looking at today: jealousy and lies. Despite being a deeply religious community, the jealousy between the villagers becomes more tangible as the play progresses. Throughout the play, jealousy from Abigail Williams initially causes Hysteria to take over Salem, while she blames people just so she could have a chance to get what she wants. She knowingly tells lies to serve her own cause and encourages the other girls to follow her in doing so. They are scared she will turn on them next. Abigail is motivated by jealousy of Elizabeth Proctor. She wants Elizabeth to die so that she can marry John, Elizabeth's husband, and take her place after she was dismissed from their service. But it's not only Abigail. Many more of the characters are motivated by jealousy. Thomas Putnam is motivated by jealousy of other people's property. He wants George Jacobs to die so that he can get his hands on a great piece of land. His wife, Anne Putnam, displays jealousy towards Rebecca Nurse. This is due to the fact that she has had many healthy children, whilst Anne keeps losing hers. Jealousy is the hidden force driving most of the drama and the accusations of witchcraft in town. Whilst not every character outright lies to support their claims, many make assumptions and accusations based on opinion rather than fact. Our next theme is goodness. Goodness is the quality of being morally good or virtuous. Almost every character is concerned with the concept of goodness because their religion teaches them that it's the most important thing, and it is how they will be judged by God after they die. They want to be found to be good because being good will make them right with God and will allow them into heaven. Their neighbours' opinions guides them too. The characters want to be seen as good by the whole village. An example of this is that Paris is far more concerned with what the town will think of him than his daughter's illness. He intimidates his niece and his slave to get them to reveal what they've done to tarnish his reputation. Another time this is shown is when Abigail follows Tituba's example by falsely confessing to witchcraft. She does so because she sees an opportunity to convince the residents of Salem that she is a good person. Several characters' concern over goodness goes beyond how they are seen and requires that they actually examine what it really means to be good. We see this struggle in the Reverend Hale, Elizabeth Proctor, and John Proctor. Hale enters the play convinced he is a good man who can spot a witch easily, but by the end of the play, he has examined his conscience and realised that if he wants to be at peace with himself, he has to encourage the prisoners to falsely confess. Elizabeth is also convinced of herself as a good woman, but by the end of the play, she has reconsidered her treatment of her husband after he confessed to an affair and realises that she was unforgiving. John struggles the most with goodness. It takes signing a false confession, then ripping it up, for him to recognise that the only way he can be good is by being honest and true to himself. Being good is at the core values of the people of Salem, even though, ironically, most of them take part in questionable actions throughout the play. Our final theme today is consequences. Consequences are the result or effect of a person's actions. Typically, they are unwelcome or unpleasant. In the play, John's affair with Abigail has ended by the time the events of the play begin, but the consequences of that affair have just begun to play out. Because Abigail doesn't believe that John is no longer interested in her, she seizes upon accusations of witchcraft as a way to get rid of Elizabeth. Because John allowed Abigail to believe that he loved her, she thinks she can take Elizabeth's place as his wife. She's wrong, but she doesn't realise her error until both John and Elizabeth have been accused of witchcraft. Another example of the unexpected consequences of one's actions can be seen in Tituba's false confession. She says that she performed witchcraft in the hopes of escaping hanging, but soon the girls of Salem realise that they can punish many of their neighbours by accusing them. The girls fail to anticipate the consequences of their lies. Mary Warren is wrapped up in consequences from multiple characters. She thinks that she has the courage to stand up to Abigail in court after John Proctor demands it. However, she realises quickly that turning on the girls and Abigail comes with the consequence of being accused of witchcraft herself, and she consequently turns on John. Finally, Giles Corey also brings about unintended consequences when he tells Reverend Hale that his wife sometimes hides books that she was reading. The result of this revelation is that Corey's wife is imprisoned, and Giles himself is accused of and killed for witchcraft. While some characters seem aware of consequences, such as Rebecca Nurse, other characters cannot seem to think beyond their own circumstances and don't consider their actions may have consequences for others. I hope you found this video covering the themes of the Crucible useful. Take a look at the playlist in the description box below for more revision and exam help.